Hey, here we go again. Welcome to another showcase of a piece that doesn't currently even have a name. Its working name is currently Gamelan, but I have to think of a name later. It's actually called Gamelan because it is inspired by gamelan music. Like recently I started getting more into gamelan music after hearing that a piece in Secret of Mana was actually gamelan music, and it sounded pretty interesting. It also sounded like it would fit pretty well to the Despair side of the album I'm working on, Hope and Despair. So yeah, you can expect the album track to be uploaded rather soon in the next few days. But yeah, for now I'm gonna show you a showcase of the track. I still have to master and mix it properly, but I thought it would be okay to show off the actual substance of the piece first, since that's the most interesting part about this. Like, what makes this piece gamelan? Since the mastering and mixing probably isn't that interesting. So yeah, let's start by listening to the whole piece first. Alright, here we go. That's the piece. Let's first look at the instruments. First off, we have a gangsa here. Then the main melody, which is played by the core instruments. These are made, as you can see, are made up of the gongs, the jigog, the kalung, and the peniaka. Oh boy. Yeah, the gangsa is made up of ugal, premade, kantilan. These decorate the melody, as you will soon see, and the kettle gongs. They include the trompong and the reyong. I hope I managed to actually pronounce those correctly. So those are the gangas, those are the those are supposed to be the gongs. There we go. And these are supposed to be the core instruments. I accidentally mixed it up. We have the kettle gongs here again. Then the gong, which are included in the core instruments. And drums. These are actually taiko drums. They're called SCC taiko drums. These are really good sound font in my opinion. There we go. Words. Before I forget to mention, this all was thanks to JDWasabi. She plays in a gamelan ensemble herself, I believe, and she guided me quite a bit with this piece. Like, I don't think it would have turned out this well if it wasn't for her. So yeah, huge thanks to her. She provided me with a few sources and explained everything to me, what the instruments are used for, and answered my questions. So yeah, she's awesome. Let's see. First of all, we have here, the whole thing is started by a gong and it's ended by a gong. As far as I understood, that's the main thing the gong is used for. Starting and ending a piece, or starting and ending sections. So since this is also a new section, there's also a gong being played here. Then there's also deeper instruments here in between. These aren't actually gongs, I believe. Okay, then let's look at the main melody for now. So this is the main melody. Okay, this same melody is also repeated by the core instruments here. It's just played an octave higher. Then we have the kettles here, and actually from a source that JDWasabi sent me, one of the playing techniques that the kettle does is playing on every off beat, like in octaves. And it also always plays the last note of the 4-note pattern, or the last note of the main melody pattern. The main melody is usually in the fourths, oftentimes I believe, or in quarters. But that doesn't always have to be the case, since sometimes the notes are held and stuff. And I have a few eighths built in here as well. So in this case, the last note of the main melody is D, A, so the kettle gongs always play an A in octaves. But here, the last note is N, F, so they play F here. And so on. The lower instruments only play occasionally, and they're also really quiet, so they don't disrupt the flow of the whole thing. Then we have the gangsas here. They mostly just play ostinatos in this case, until this part, where they actually do a bit more. I'm not sure that they always played the main note on the beat. I guess the interesting part about this part here is that there's a slowdown here, slowdown transition, or ritardando. Transitions into this part where the main melody is played actually half as fast. Wasabi recommended me doing this, since this is a typical technique, I believe, also in gamelan. And this was actually really helpful, because I felt like anyway that this part sounded a bit, well, repetitive, because almost the same thing has been played here. And augmenting the main melody actually helped quite a bit to make it more interesting. And at the same time, while the main melody slowed down, the ornamentating instruments, or the gangsa in this case, played actually double as fast. They repeated every note twice, kind of like a delay. Not sure if it's actually typical to do it like this, like have this same note just repeat, if it plays more of an arpeggio. But I went with this since it kind of worked, and it sounded pretty well in my opinion, and fitting. Okay, and then we have another transition here, where it actually speeds up. Like I said, this is a new section, evident by the gong here. That's way faster. As I understood by what was explained, these tempo transitions are actually a big part of gamelan music, kind of similar to like modulation in classical music. Like I think that makes the whole piece more interesting, or to differentiate between sections. So let's listen to it. So this whole part is pretty much the same as this. There's this transition here where only the melody and the percussions play, and then it's just a repetition of this. This time with a higher BPM count, making it sound different this time, providing a more interesting structure. And then we have a totally different part actually, played by the gangsa. This case it becomes the main melody instrument, instead of just an ornamentating instrument. I don't think it's too typical to have a section like this in gamelan, but I built it in still, because I thought that it would make the piece more interesting. This part is again the same as this part, and it serves again as a transition into a slower section, I guess you could say, or a slower outro, slow down outro. And then a chord here at the end, signifying that the piece has ended. Okay, and this is my gamelan piece. This was my, I think, second try or first serious try at gamelan music. I did a first try before that, which sounded a bit, well, not as memorable, I guess, because it was mostly improvised. But it was good at trying out the VSTs and different techniques. So yeah, I think I'll upload this before actually finishing up this piece, this gamelan piece, and uploading it to my album. But I'll link it in the description when it's up. Like I said, I'm still going to do some mastering and mixing in the next few days, so it should be done hopefully rather soon. And the piece Knives, I have recorded like a showcase, or in this case a live composition, but since those are rather long compared to these showcases, it's gonna take a bit longer till it's done. I have it like cut down to like 40 minutes, and I still have 2 hours left to cut. So yeah, I hope I'll manage to do that rather soon. Alright. I hope you learned a bit about gamelan music, like I did. See ya.